Hey everyone! ChatGPT Taylor, aka Taylor here. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be covering an event in the most recent episode of Disventure Camp. And that event is the Disventure Camp auction. Now, this is clearly inspired from the auction from the real-life television show Survivor, and I love it. I've always loved the auctions from Survivor, so to see that challenge being adapted into Disventure Camp was a very exciting feeling for me. I was so stoked to see the campers bidding their hearts out for various items, and I was not disappointed at what transpired. That being said, I think it's safe to say that some campers did better than others with regards to their performance at the auction. So, today's video will feature me going over each remaining camper from episode 18 of season 4, and how well I think they did during the auction, based on their actions and what they were able to buy from the auction. And with that, let's get started. Before I begin, make sure to like and subscribe if this video is to your liking, and make sure to comment down below if there's anything that you would like to see going forward. To kick off the video, I'm going to start by talking about the camper that I think did the best at the auction. Now, this one might be a bit of a shock, but I'm prepared to justify it. I genuinely believe that Isabel did the best at the auction. First of all, she did the right thing by trying to buy a mystery item, since it's pretty obvious that individual immunity would be sold as a mystery item, rather than a revealed one. And I know that the first mystery item ended up being nachos, but I don't count that as a loss. Food isn't easy to come by out there, so any form of nourishment in the form of food is a major plus. And they were fully loaded nachos too, even though it didn't appear that way. Also, it was pretty funny to see her go all feral over the martini. But the move that puts her at the top for me is her decision to give Jade $20 so that Jade could outbid Spencer for the steal a vote advantage. Not only did this stop one of her enemies from getting an advantage, but one of her allies got the advantage instead, which directly benefits Isabel. And since this advantage is public knowledge, this increases the target on Jade's back, rather than Isabel's back, since Isabel isn't the one that got the advantage. The one argument you could make against it is that Isabel helping Jade shows that the two of them are working together, but pretty much everyone knows that at this point, so it's not a major loss. So the way I see it, Isabel bought some needed nourishment, helped her ally get an advantage, while also keeping the target off of her own back. This challenge was a major win for Isabel. The person who I think did the next best at the auction might surprise some of you, but I don't think this person did that badly. And that person is Marissa. Marissa may not have gotten any advantages, but I don't think Marissa is necessarily in the worst position in the game, so any unneeded advantage or immunity win would just put a target on her back. So directing her focus towards luxuries was a pretty good decision in my opinion. And even though she only bid on 2 items, I doubt that she regrets spending all her money to buy the video from her family. She knew what she needed in order to make it further in the game, and if hearing her family's voices is what she needs to keep her head in the game, then I say she made the right call. And although you could argue that she took away the opportunity for other campers to hear from their loved ones, Marissa acknowledged this during the bidding, and it didn't seem like the other campers were too upset about letting Marissa have it. So, I don't think it hurt Marissa's game to play so hard for that reward. The only reason why Marissa isn't at the top is because I don't think her actions did anything to help her strategic positioning, unlike Isabel's, but other than that, I think Marissa did much better than some of the others on this list. And for this list, the camper that I think did the third best out of all the campers is Jade. Jade may have only bought 1 item, but the item that she got was a steal a vote advantage. I've talked about this advantage in previous videos on my channel, and I'll always say that this advantage is one of my favorites. The fact that you can take away someone's right to vote while also doubling your own voting power makes this advantage so powerful. Adding this to the fact that Jade was able to stop Spencer, her current enemy, from getting this advantage only adds to how well Jade did at this auction. Sure, she needed Isabel's help to get it, but the fact that Jade is close enough to Isabel that Isabel was so willing to hand over money really shows how good it is that Jade remained close to her. These are all pluses in Jade's favor. But what keeps Jade out of the top 2 is the fact that she got this advantage so publicly. Yes, this was a necessary evil in order to get the advantage, but it's still a bad stain on Jade's game that she now has a bigger target on her back. And the fact Spencer brought this up as a reason for him, Logan, and Zayd to vote for Jade shows how getting the advantage also negatively impacted her game. Granted, Spencer probably would have voted for Jade regardless, but this definitely didn't help keep Logan and Zayd's votes off of her. So, while I love the fact that Jade emptied her wallet for a powerful advantage, it was a double-edged sword, so I have to bring her down for that. But aside from that, Jade still did well in my eyes. The 4th best camper at the auction is someone who I'm predicting might be higher on other people's lists, but I'll explain my reasoning. The camper in this spot is Hannah. Now, I know that Hannah managed to walk away with a filling sandwich, individual immunity, and the satisfaction that she stopped Spencer from winning immunity. Those are all great things, and I won't deny that. However, there are several reasons why I don't think Hannah did that well in the grand scheme of things. First of all, Hannah deviated from her own plan that she had for the auction. Going into it, she explicitly told Amelie that they needed to hold their money until they saw an advantage of immunity. And what does Hannah do? She immediately buys the first item, which is neither an advantage nor immunity. Sure, she admitted that it was a mistake afterwards, but she still made the mistake, which isn't a good look for her. Secondly, when the first advantage came up, Hannah didn't even make a move to bid for it. She just let Jade and Spencer go at it. And the thing is that up to that point, Hannah could have realistically gotten the advantage if she wanted to. Even if Jade and Isabel pooled all their money, they would only have $760, while Hannah would have $880 if she pooled with all of Amelie's money. And while I will give Hannah credit for not directly bidding against her allies, not even making one bid for it when she explicitly stated that her plan was to bid for advantages and immunity makes me question her decision-making. And thirdly, while it's nice that Hannah won immunity, I don't necessarily think that it was the ideal move for her. In the grand scheme of things, even though Hannah lost her closest ally several episodes prior, I don't think Hannah is in immediate danger. At this point, Spencer is clearly the biggest target, Logan and Zayd are still outsiders, and any animosity within the women's alliance is between Isabel and Anastasia. So, I don't think Hannah really needed to get immunity for herself. Yes, I think it was good that she kept immunity away from Spencer, but there's a third option that accomplishes that while keeping the target on her back smaller and furthering her own game. And this option is to lend money to Amelie and have her bid $520 so that Amelie would get immunity instead. After all, Hannah did express before the challenge that she was worried about losing her closest ally, so helping Amelie win immunity would extinguish that fear while keeping the target on her back small. And yes, technically she wasn't 100% sure that the mystery item was immunity, but based on how actively she bid for it, I think Hannah genuinely believed that it would be immunity. So, while Hannah did a good job by buying food and getting immunity, I feel like Hannah made too many mistakes along the way for me to put her higher on the list. That being said, I do think that Hannah did better than the next person on this list, which is her ally, Amelie. Amelie is probably the most neutral person in this auction, which is funny considering her personality is far from neutral. Now, Amelie didn't end up buying anything at the auction, but Amelie did have two moments that are worth judging on. For one, Amelie gave Hannah $140 so that Hannah could outbid Spencer for the mystery item, which ended up being individual immunity. This was a great move by Amelie, as it prevented Spencer from getting immunity, thereby allowing him to be vulnerable at the next ceremony. This move also helped solidify her friendship with Hannah, which is also good. That being said, much like I said in Hannah's section, it would have been better if Amelie told Hannah to give her money to outbid Spencer, but I suppose it didn't matter in the end if Amelie didn't feel like she was in danger. The only other thing that Amelie did was bid against Anastasia for the shower. In this process, Amelie spent her time throwing shade against Anastasia and Emily, which I don't think is the best look for her. The last thing that Amelie needs is more people wanting her out, and considering how much Anastasia values her looks, being antagonized about her appearance probably doesn't help Anastasia's perception of Amelie. Granted, Anastasia seemed to be more annoyed that there was no soap compared to her annoyance towards Amelie, so I don't think this was a major mess up for Amelie. So, while Amelie didn't do anything outstanding, she didn't make any major mistakes either, earning her a spot in the middle of this list. Kicking off the bottom half of this list is someone who I've noticed is getting more and more hate as the season progresses, and it's Anastasia. Anastasia's only purchase from the auction is a shower. While this is a good reward and I understand Anastasia's desire for it, it doesn't really help her overall game from a strategic standpoint. Sure, she'll probably be cleaner afterwards, but it's not like anyone was actively avoiding her because she was dirty. So a good personal move, but a neutral strategic move. Additionally, her and Amelie traded jabs at each other while they were bidding for the shower, which may not have been the best for Anastasia's social game. I know it's relatively minor and we don't know if this interaction will have any lasting effects until the next episode's premiere, but Anastasia's popularity in the competition is dwindling by the day, so the last thing that she needs is to make more enemies through pointless bickering. Anastasia's only other notable move was bidding against Isabel for the mystery item. And although Anastasia didn't end up getting the item, she was able to bid up Isabel to $240 and then immediately drop out, which I found to be interesting. I can't tell if this was intentional or not, and I'm also not sure if this was a good move or not. On one hand, if this was intentional, then Anastasia was trying to get another player to spend more of their money on a mystery item that probably wasn't going to be an advantage, which isn't a bad strategy. But regardless if this was intentional or not, I think Anastasia missed an opportunity to improve her relationship with Isabel. Keep in mind that heading into this challenge, Isabel and Anastasia were not on good terms due to Natalia's blindside. So if Anastasia was willing to let Isabel buy this item, she could have made a bigger show of it by openly declaring that she was letting it go so that Isabel could win it. After all, Zayd eventually used this strategy later on in the challenge so that he could keep Logan's trust, so Anastasia could have attempted the same thing to keep Isabel's trust. One element of this challenge that I feel gets overlooked is that you need to be careful about who you bid against, because you could genuinely hurt some feelings if you outbid someone for an item that they really wanted. And Anastasia really can't afford to hurt any more feelings. So while Anastasia did leave the auction with a reward, she made a few questionable decisions that made me place her in the bottom half of this list. And now we begin the bottom 3 on our list, and it's our favorite plot armor king, Spencer. Now, Spencer didn't end up buying anything at this auction, even though he tried to buy both the steal a vote advantage and the mystery item that eventually became individual immunity, both of which he sorely needed at that point. Although attempting to buy these items was a good move for Spencer, the reason why he's so low on this list is because his own actions led to him not buying anything. We saw Spencer make 2 attempts to get others to lend him money so that he could bid for the advantage and the mystery item that ended up being individual immunity. And both times we saw the cast refuse to help him out. And this is largely in part to Spencer's poor social game. One of the largest criticisms of Spencer throughout his time in the game is that despite his strategic nature, he's done a poor job at managing others' perceptions of him. Going all the way back to episode 1, he brazenly took over the flag challenge, only to mess up and delay his team. Then there was episode 7 where he openly showed no compassion towards Ivy's injury, which prompted all the other campers on his team to vote for him. Yes, this was part of his plan to idle out Tristan, but this was an extremely short-sighted plan considering that the totem only bought him 1 episode of safety, and he was immediately voted off his team during the next episode. Not to mention that he continued to show attitude to Ivy and Hannah afterwards, showing no desire to repair these broken bonds. These poor decisions continued on the blue team, where he mocked Natalia for voting for him, and belittled Anastasia when she could have easily led the charge to send him into the duel against Linda. Not to mention how in this episode he still wasn't able to properly manage his relationships with Jade and Logan. This whole challenge was really just a culmination of all of Spencer's poor decisions with his social game. That panning shot of the campers where it's clear that no one wants to help him really highlights how much Spencer messed up with his social game. So even though his actions during the challenge made sense, because of how badly he played outside of the challenge, he wasn't able to get the items that he needed to survive. And if he had the relationships needed to get more money and outbid Hannah for immunity, he would have survived this episode instead of being eliminated. So I can't rank Spencer highly, knowing that his prior actions caused his failures during the challenge. The only reason why he isn't lower is because Spencer's actions in the challenge weren't inherently bad, unlike the 2 people below him on this list. One spot from the bottom of the list, we have Zayd. Zayd made several decisions that I think were mistakes. For starters, he never showed signs of trying to bid for an advantage or immunity, since he only placed bids on the PB&J sandwich, the family videos, and the mystery item that he clearly hoped was food. Yes, I get you're hungry, but you can have all the food you want if you get voted out. But for now, you're in the game, and since he's admitted that he's worried about not having allies, earning an advantage or individual immunity to help keep himself safe would have been good for him. But he didn't even try to bid for the hidden immunity or the advantage, even when the advantage was publicly revealed to the cast. That really disappointed me. Not to mention that he also left the auction without buying a single item, which isn't the best look. Additionally, Zayd bid against Logan, probably his closest ally, for an item, forcing each other to risk spending more money that they could have used to outbid the others for an advantage or immunity. That being said, Zayd did make some decent decisions. I don't blame him for not helping Spencer considering how poor Spencer's social game has been, and I think Zayd played well by letting Logan win the mystery prize and letting Marissa win the family videos. I feel like doing that will ultimately help him maintain the few connections that he currently has in the game, which I think is a good move. And this is really the only reason why he's not at the bottom of his list. He didn't get anything, but I don't think he did much to hurt his social game, unlike the last person on this list. And at the very bottom of the list is our flipping Olympian, Logan. Now, Logan's actions weren't all bad in this challenge. He did manage to win food for himself, and I don't blame him for not helping Spencer considering what's happened in the last couple of episodes. That being said, that's sort of where the good choices end for Logan. One notable mistake that I think Logan made is that he really wasn't trying to win any sort of advantage or immunity. And as someone who's a physical threat and has acknowledged that he needs more allies, you would think that Logan would at least put in a bid for something that might be an advantage or immunity. Yes, I know that he bid on a mystery item with Zayd, but through their words, I get the impression that Logan and Zayd thought the mystery item was food, not an advantage. So Logan's motivations still don't really align with his current position in the game. Additionally, Logan had several instances where he was bidding against his allies. It started with Logan bidding against Marissa for the PB&J sandwich. Much like I said before, Logan would have benefited from just letting Marissa have this one. Considering how his earlier interactions with Marissa in this episode were a bit rocky, Logan risked a lot by bidding against her and visibly making her upset. Similarly, Logan also bid against Zayd for the pasta and wine. While Zayd seemed to be okay afterwards, for 2 guys that are a bit alone in the game, bidding each other up and draining more of their money isn't the best idea. Had they ended their bidding earlier so Logan only spent $100 or something like that, they could have outbid Hannah and Amelie for the individual immunity. Sure, Hannah and Amelie could have just asked one of the other girls for more money, but at least doing that would show that the boys are at least trying to make an effort to save themselves. And when you add that Logan also kind of rubbed his wine reward in Amelie's face, he really didn't do himself many favors with his decision making. So although he got a nice reward, his decision to not actively seek immunity despite being in a poor strategic position, as well as his willingness to risk alienating himself further by bidding against his allies makes me rank him at the bottom of this list. Sorry Logan. I hope that pasta and wine was worth it. And that about does it for this video. What do you think of my thoughts? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Who do you think did the best at the auction? Either way, please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like the video, click subscribe if you really like the video, and for some ending words of wisdom. Don't forget to bulk up. Because you never know when a social media loving nun will pick you up and toss you out of the way in order to drink a martini. Thank you, and farewell.